And we are live. Hey, Amy, good to see you again.
Hello, good to see you.
All right, so we are on Facebook. I wonder if I'm assuming that it is live. Um,
It is.
okay, cool. So we are back with Hard Conversations, doing it the same way that we did it the first time, which is we just jump in there, start having a conversation just like you do at home. No different, unscripted, just coming as we are. Uh, and what I asked Amy to do, uh, I was reading a book that is very interesting to me and thought, man, it would be nice to talk about racism look at the book through the lenses of racism and what we are going through in our country right now and in the world, to be even more specific. But yeah, more specific here in the US. But anyway,
Which is great because it's not bad enough talking about racism live on Facebook, but I've never joined a book club because I don't like talking. Like I want process time.
right,
So why not do it the first time live when no one else has read the book?
right, right. And but we're not actually going to talk about the book,
Right,
but I
right.
love to be in that frame of mind that the book puts you in, as we talk about the subject of racism. So, based off of us reading just the first part of the book, and the book that we were reading is what is it, Amy? It's
The moral landscape by I'll type it in the comments. I
by
think I
Sam Harris, right? The Moral Landscape by Sam Harris. So I have no idea where this book is going, because I haven't gotten past. I haven't even gotten to the first chapter really, because every time I read a little bit, I want to discuss it, or I have these thoughts about what it means through the lenses of racism and the conversations around racism right now. So you know, and so me and Amy like just started talking about, okay, well, she told me what she just said right here live, which is I like to have process time, right? And so I was telling her, I started off from way on the side of just looking at everything through the lenses of faith, right? Through the lenses of religion and faith. And the deeper that I get into my spirituality and understanding of myself and of humanity and how we relate to one another, the more that I see that it is very it's scientific. Like you can find the commonality in things, you can find the thread that runs through things, you can measure, you can study it and make some conclusions based off of the study, of just observing and notating how we relate to each other, the things that we do. And I mean, we believe that in all area, at least when it comes to we want to be rich or we want to have a good marriage or what have you, right? We go read books about if you do A, B, C, and D, it is proven to cause this effect. And
We've seen if you experience certain things in childhood, you're much more likely to experience these health issues as an adult. So we've seen those correlations as well.
absolutely.
And those
So
are things about nurturing, like they're warm and fuzzy, not, feed them this
exactly,
food or do this.
exactly. So there's a science behind it. There's the ability to study it, to track it, and to see how we got to certain conclusions. And so the question tonight is, um, based off of that, based off of understanding what science allows us to do, the study of something, the tracking of something, all the way to its conclusion, what it allows us to do. When it comes to racism, the subject of racism, my question is, do enough white people believe that science is actually science. And if you're wondering why I phrased the question that way, I will refer you back to one of our earlier conversations where I shared the demographics of the United States. And white people make up over 76% of the population. And this is according to the census. And 13.4% of Black people make up the population. So when we talk about statistics and science, math and science, they go hand in hand. When we talk about the science of it, one of the arguments that I made is when 76% can wake up tomorrow and change everything because they are the majority. And so that's why I'm asking, do enough white people, do enough of the majority believe that science is science? Do they believe in facts? Do they believe in studies? Do enough white people believe in that where it will make an impact on how we view racism and how we deal with racism? Because we have plenty of data that tells us, number one, how we got to where we are, but yet we're still arguing over that. But we can literally go back and track and trace and read and study and research. We can do that work and it'll tell us exactly how we got to where we are. Yet we spend a lot of our time today when we're talking about racism arguing about where we are. For instance, the Declaration of Independence. Like somebody, I couldn't help myself. I posted under another friend of mine had posted the question about something with the Electoral College. But anyway, and others were posting on there about we the people going according to the will of we the people. And my response was, they are going according to the will of we the people if you accept who we the people are in the Declaration of Independence. It tells us right there who we the people are, but we refuse to accept it because we want to infuse how we think it should have read all along. We want to infuse that in it versus to accept what it actually means. No different than if I write my will, it means whatever I say that it means, not how you want to interpret it 50 years from now. It's however I write it. And so we the people was very specific of who we the people were. And it was very specific about who Black people were because they wrote that down too. 3/5. They wrote it, they put it in writing. So we understand. So that's why my question is, do enough white people believe in facts and science, even the things that you read can prove, to make a change in this horrible racist society that we're living in right now? And when we talk about racism, of course, Amy, for those of you who don't know, I created a course, 31-day racism rehab, and we just ended a round on July 31st. Amy took that program. And I guess I'll put the link in here. I didn't even bother to put the link in here for the new one starting up on September 1st. But we looked at, not my opinion. I didn't give my opinion on anything. I didn't try to wield my influence. We literally went back and looked at things step by step. We read the actual documents and things like that. We looked at history. We looked at facts. We looked at it in a scientific way to discover what racism really is. Right. So, but it seems like we're not getting anywhere on the discussion of racism because we won't even admit or go back and look at or allow it to mean exactly what they intended for it to mean. We're arguing over that. No, they didn't mean that. We the people meant all of us. Really? Come on now. No, they didn't want Black people to be enslaved. You read it right there. They were there trying to abolish slavery. Really? Like, how do you read all that into that? Like, how that happened? So please, Amy, tell me.
So one of the things I was talking about was the book talks about looking at morality from a scientific point of view and whether we could do that. And one of the things I was reacting to was this idea that we don't even believe regular scientific things anymore. There's all these arguments about climate change and is it real, or all of these things where there's overwhelming scientific evidence and people discard it and dismiss it. And so I was saying to you, I wish we could go back to the old days when we believed science, but that was even a myth because we've always had issues with science. So I think to me, part of it is we know that people in both science and history bring their own lens to it, and that lens can skew the results. Mm-hmm. And so if, I can find a study that tells you don't eat eggs, Queen, because it'll kill you, or eat eggs every day because they're healthy for you. And it's just the lens that it's coming from. So part of it is to really get the information, you have to do research. Like you have to look at the study, you have to understand who did the study. Was it a egg farmer? Or was it someone who's trying to sell, whatever? And so spending the time, because there's so much crap out there that is supposed to be science or like history, of course, is going to be from, depending on who you read. If it's from the white man's lens, it's not going to mention any of the things that you mentioned that we reviewed. So I think people doubt because of that. They're always cynical or questioning any facts. And so we tend to look for things that support whatever is in our best interest. That's what I feel like is happening. And it also brought up for me, when you talk about science, science has done a lot of damage to people of color and to women. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that were scientific about women are this way and Black people are this way, and that, it really, we've been wrong in science, right? We thought the earth was flat. Now we know better. So we have that history, and that makes, I think you have to question that as well.
What the interesting thing about that is, Amy, I'm glad that you brought it up. Now, first of all, we know that science did some crappy stuff to Black people as far as and that's the thing that I don't think people understand either. When you talk about all of the advances science has made, and you go back and study who did they do those studies on to make those advances, you'll realize that much of the time it was done on Black people, and specifically enslaved Black people with no anesthesia, nothing. And right. Now, what came out of those scientific discoveries, now the real scientific discoveries, good information came out of those that allows us to do the things that we, gynecology, right? It allows us to do the things that we allows us to have the things that we have today when it comes to the medical field and all of that. However, there is a entanglement when the word science, oh Lord, yeah, there is a, maybe I shouldn't use that word, but anyway, or maybe I should because I think it's appropriate here. There's an entanglement between science, real science that we have today, where there are actual studies, right? And what was deemed as science, but really what it really was white supremacy. Okay. Because when you go back and you look at the science that was done to say that blacks were different, right, or women were different, when you go back and you look at those, then you will, and right now, because I didn't know this was the direction we were going with this conversation, so I don't have all my like stuff right on the top of my mind head with the names and all of that, so you all have to go research it. But when you research where that data came from, they weren't even doctors, they weren't even scientists, it was just random people, random white men. Let me get specific with that. Random white men who came up with these theories, wrote it down, and submitted it. And all of a sudden, over time, it got traction. Even when they did it, it didn't have traction. But then people, as you said, who wanted something to support their worldview, picked it up and made it fact, made it factual.
When if you want to learn more about it, the CNON podcast season 2 is about whiteness, and there's a lot of good information in that podcast about some of the things we're talking about.
Yeah. So, but because again, when we talk about the science of racism, where I'm coming from is the information that is available, right? Real data, not something that somebody said, well, I think, or this is no, real data where they count, okay, this happened here, that happened there, that you can go back and you can look at, that tells you how, and it gives you a picture of how things become systemic. It's the evidence of systemic racism.
Well, I think where we get in issues is just like we get in issues with regular science. So climate change, right? Mm-hmm. 98% of scientists are in agreement, probably. I don't know the exact percent, but you can always find 2% that will disagree, that have their own agendas or finance somewhere. And you have the same thing with racism data. You have 95% of scholars and researchers who pulled the data and agree, but you have that 5% that a lot of times will be a Black person, because that's going to give more. It gives someone to hide behind, and people will push that 5% like it's as valid as the 95%.
Which, like, as we read on, I did read a part where he talks about, is everyone's opinion as valid as the next? And we've got to talk. I think we'll do that one tomorrow, because I think that's when we get into the meat of things. Because right now we're in an argument of perspective. Right? Oh, well, that's your perspective. Well, that's your opinion. Everybody has a right to their own opinion. People argue that now. That is the thing. Going back and forth over, well, you have a right to your opinion and I have a right to mine, or I have a right to my view. You do have a right to it. That does not mean that you have a right to be in a conversation, because you may not be qualified to do so.
Like my opinion about how you should handle a legal issue, I can have my opinion, but you probably should value the opinion of an attorney.
Right. Right.
For example, or Dr. Fauci compared to someone without a medical degree.
Exactly. And so now it seems like we're in a war of distraction. Because I'm telling you, like, the way that this has gone, it has gone from, it has always been a mental war anyway, but before it is really a psychological war that's going on, and we're all playing in it, right? Even ignorantly. but doing so out of self-preservation, of wanting to believe I'm a good person. You know, I boosted the post for the 31-day racism rehab that's going to start on September 1st. So I boosted the marketing on that, and it's just been running for a couple days, right? Because I'm not like a marketing person. That's the one thing that I do poorly because I do what I do because of my values, because I'm driven to do it, because I want to help people, because I want to stay in a conversation. And if anybody knows me, they know that I came into this conversation thinking that I was going to be on a whole nother side of the conversation, talking to totally different people. This was not what I was planning to do. However, when people said there was a need, then I stepped up to meet the need. So anyway, I've been marketing it just with a boost. That's all. I ain't really did much of nothing to market it, but anyway, with a boost. And I saw on there, a white woman got on there today, and she was like, "So how much are you charging to make white women feel guilty?" Right? So then I thought to myself, well, hell, I need me a white woman posse just to deal with white women like that. Like, I need me a white woman posse just to deal with white women like that, who don't have a clue as to why she's even saying that. Why was it necessary for her to make the comment, how much are you charging to make white women feel guilty? And I'll let you answer, Amy. Is that what the program does? Is that even, like, that's one of the first things I say on first day. I don't have time for that, because
Right.
white women's guilt will only cause more Black men to be killed in the street, because they'll be so paralyzed with guilt that they're not able to make a difference, right? So I don't have time for white woman guilt, and I'm sure as heck ain't the one to put it on you. I don't believe guilt is something that anybody
And if you listen to any of our previous discussions, we always talk about the pool of racism. So the pool is the United States. We all live in the pool. We're all in the pool. And so why would you make me feel guilty for being wet in the pool? Like,
right. That didn't make sense. However, what I understand about it is that is part of the psychological damage that has been done to all of us because of this thing called racism that we've all been affected by. I've said time and time again that I have myself been affected by it in a way that I see my own people through squinty eyes. So if I, as a Black person, can turn and be affected by thinking about another Black person in a derogatory way based off of the marketing that I've grown up with, the things that I've heard, right? Just a form of self-hate, right? Self-hatred. But these are the things that we're all dealing with. I know that as a Black person, that I deal with those things too, because I'm in the pool as well. And I have to check my own attitudes towards Black people. I have to check my own attitudes. So this white woman who posted that, and there was a couple other white women that posted some other things too, and I wanted to kind of be sarcastic and get on there and say something, but I was like, Queen, don't do that. Trying to control all of this and manage myself, but looking at them and thinking they don't even, obviously, because they took it so personal. And my saying on that, no, don't take it personal, just take ownership of it, so that we can do something about it. Because what you own, you can choose to destroy, you can choose to lift it up, you can choose whatever you own. Can't do anything about something that you don't own, but you can do a lot with what you own. So don't take it personal, just take ownership of it. But these women took it personal. and don't even realize that that's a side effect of the inheritance that they have been given. That's a side effect, to get defensive like that, to take it so personal, to be afraid that they if they expose themselves to something, they find that they're a racist. Being defensive, thinking I don't want anybody to call me a racist, or you don't have a right to call me, or you don't have a right to talk to me about whiteness and racism, or what have you, or that you're being divisive, or what have. All of that is also a side effect of the lineage that you have received as a white person. Just like Black people have taken on some things and received some things down the pipeline because of their ancestors' experience in this country, so has white people, right? So has white people. And I believe that all of that has been studied and can be studied even more to inform us of how to deal with this, and not only deal with it, but dismantle it within ourselves, within our families, and then within our communities, therefore within our society. So what you think about it?
And to dismantle that idea of guilt. Because I think that's one of the things from the class is I think you develop some more self-compassion for yourself. Around areas like, why do I feel guilty about this? Why do I feel shame about this? And that applies to other areas of your life where you can have a realistic view of what is causing me to feel shame, what is causing me to feel guilt, and then be empowered to either say, that's just craziness, like it's white patriarchy that doesn't apply to me, or yeah, that's something I want to change about myself, and now I own it and I can make a decision and act differently.
Yeah, and I think that that's important because, again, guilt does nothing. And I believe that enough Black lives have been sacrificed in this country that we don't need any more sacrifices to be had in order to stir up the soul of this country, in particular to stir up the soul of white people. And you know that I focus mostly on white women in particular, because I believe that white women hold the key to be able to make the massive change that we need. I believe that it's going to be the white women on the front lines, moving it forward, pushing it forward. Now, some people might say, well, why are you giving all of this power to white women? What about Black women? Honey, I'm not taking any power away from Black women. Remember, I believe science and statistics. Black people make up 13.4%. White people make up 76%. Black people didn't even create this issue. So we're not going to be the ones to solve it, right? 13%. And we're not even talking about those who have been taken out of the game, right? We're not even talking about the part of the 13% that's been taken out of the game, and therefore it's even less than 13% out here able to affect change. So that's why I'm saying white women, we need the 76% to do the work, to do the inner work on themselves, and then to do the outer work, to change the dynamic of their families, right? Because it's your brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles and aunts and all of that are kneeling on the neck of Black men until they're no longer breathing, right? It's your sons going in and shooting up the churches where Black people are, or marching through the streets with tiki poles or what have you.
Or driving into the crowds.
So that's why I'm speaking to white women in particular, because they're the ones who are rocking the cradle of those white men, right? Laying in the bed next to those white men.
And so part of, I guess, white supremacy is keeping silence, right? Silencing things. And so the women are trying to silence you because you're bringing up things that are uncomfortable. And I think for white people in general, that's something we do, right? We don't want to be uncomfortable. So we don't want to, well, I guess we see a lot of white people expressing anger. But a lot of times I see white people suppressing emotions that they don't like. And they think if they push it down, that it'll all go away. But it comes out, like, I'm an acupuncturist, if people don't know. I see it come out in other ways if you try to not deal with the emotions. And so racism is, like, in Chinese medicine, we see we are a microcosm and of the world. People are a microcosm of the world. So we're a microcosm of the bigger community. And racism is one of those ugly things that we think if we suppress and put it away where we can't see it, like the prisons, and have people not talk about it, it's not there. The ugliest isn't there. But I know that from my work in acupuncture, it's going to spring back bigger and uglier because you didn't just acknowledge it and find a way to like process it and make changes based on it. And it's the other thing is we always think that if we let that anger out or we let that fear that we're feeling out, we think it will consume us, that'll kill us. That's what our fear is. And I see with my clients time and time again, we don't. Like, we find we can handle much more. And I think the same, people think if we let the ugliness of our country out, that it's somehow gonna burn, the whole country will be better. And that just isn't the way things work.
Right. One of the things that I was very and this, it was genuine, sincere, and the program is by day 3 how deep y'all went, like how you leaned into the experience, how everybody leans into the experience. And so they are, can you hear all that noise? Like, and they know I'm live. Okay. I'm traveling, y'all. So I'm with the grandkids. I'm with the and so it is what it is until I get home. But how everybody leans in. And when they leaned in, because again, it's every individual's own experience without me putting any pressure, you dealing with you and the information and all of that. And when everyone leaned in, it was very disturbing and kind of scary because people were suffering. Like it was a feeling of, I mean, I could feel it. Like people weren't sure if they were going to go so deep that they couldn't come back. If they were going to get lost in it or drowned in it, right? Which, of course, obviously that didn't happen. You guys came on back up because you're right here and you're able to have this conversation. And because there is a process in the program to do that, to take you full circle so that you can come out and you can be productive and transformed, right? Transformed and productive, but not coming out with guilt or shame or any of that, right? But coming out able to make the impact in your life and in the lives of those around you in a way that makes you feel like that you are fulfilled, and that you have made a difference and done something meaningful, because it has to be meaningful for you in order for you to continue to do so. So when you talk about white women or white people in general being afraid that if we let the lid off of this thing, it will get out of control and burn everything down. I think what we saw play out in the program is that that is not true. You may feel like it for a second, for a few days, you may feel like it, but then it is proven to you that it is okay, right? That it's okay, that it is safe to do so, that you will not die, that your world will not come crashing down, right? That you will be okay. That there is a way to live within this balancing strain of recognizing and acknowledging and still having to live in this world and appreciate beauty and appreciate people and relationships and the good things, right? While still having to grapple with the ugly things, the sufferings and all of that. And this program helps you to discover how to do that, how to deal with that tension versus instead of dealing with the tension, putting your head in the sand or pretending like nothing's wrong.
Right.
Right. Do you feel like that's how it went for you, that it gave you the space to understand that and see that you could deal with the tension of the two, see the beauty in the world and acknowledge that which we want to change?
Yeah, I think there were a couple days that were a little dark, and even that language is funny. See how I said dark? Yeah. Racist language. But we have some things that you're going to do differently, even to help with that in the next. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think those are the things. Again, I feel like you get so much more out of this course than just a discussion about racism, because what you just said, that tension of going through something hard and challenging and changing your view while still having some joy in your life, mm-hmm. that doesn't just apply to this discussion. That's life, right? Life, yes. There's always challenges and struggles that are going to come to you about, illness in your family or work struggles. So those are skills that can apply to your entire life that are part of the class.
Exactly. And that's how, my philosophy is that's how we must address racism in a way that can be lived out in our everyday life, right? Because we have to keep living. We have children to raise. We have parents to take care of, spouses to take care of, lovers to take care of, all of that. We still must be able to function on a daily basis. We still must be able to see the beauty in life, right? To see the beauty in everything. We have to have that as humans in order for us to be able to get up out of bed, right? We got enough stuff around us that depresses, that can take us down in a deep, depressed state. So we have to learn how to balance the tension between the sweetness of life and the bitterness of life, and be able to do that in a way where we can take it into every situation, every circumstance, and learn our own process so that we can walk it in, no matter whether we're dealing with something such as a societal issue, or whether we're dealing with something within our own internal conflict, or whether we're dealing with something as it relates to someone we love, a relationship that we're in, or whether it be our career. It doesn't matter. You must be able to do that. And so I created the program in the same way, so that when you walk away, you have that process for yourself, understanding that you can live with that tension. You don't have to bypass in order to live. You don't have to pretend like everything is lollipops and gumballs. You don't have to live within a privilege of being able to close your eyes to the suffering of of people around you in order for you to be able to function. You're able to live with the tension of both. So All right. So we are going to start. Thank you so much for having this discussion with me tonight. We tomorrow we're going to be on same time. Well, an hour earlier.
6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern. Yes, 6 p.m. Central. So we'll be on tomorrow night with another good conversation, and it's going to be around this thing of your opinion, my thoughts. Is everyone's opinion equal? Like when we're talking about equality, that don't necessarily mean that your opinion, the way you see the world is equal to the way everybody else see the world, right? No, like if we're going to talk about health and wellness, we're not going to bring Jeffrey Dahmer into it and get his opinion on it. Like we're just not going to do that. It's not. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Yay, serial killers.
It's gonna be good. Some of y'all gonna be qualified from this conversation. But hopefully, and even though I'm joking about that, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. Because just like those women who posted on my marketing, they don't even understand that it is their responsibility to disqualify themselves from a conversation that they can't add anything to. All they can do is distract, right? And go into their own shit and make it about them, right? He's like, no, disqualify yourself. And so that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. So I hope you all join us tomorrow. And for those of you who are watching the replay, please join us tomorrow. Comment, ask questions, put down things that you'd like to maybe hear us discuss or what have you. We love your input. We always look at it, and it just spurs us on to have other hard conversations. These conversations are conversations that you have at home, or at least aspire to have at home or on your job or what have you. The things that's going on in society has made it very challenging for all of us to open up our mouths and have the conversations that need to be had. Now, mind you, we're having these conversations not so that we can convince each other of anything, but so that we can expand our worlds and check ourselves and allow ourselves to change our own minds about some things, because we've exposed ourselves to something other than our own thoughts and views and all of that. That's what conversation does. And so our hope.
I don't know if Queen froze or if I did. If Queen froze, just join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time or 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And there are previous conversations that you can find at hardconversations.live. Several of these that we've already had, so check those out as well. Have a good night.